This is a story we all recognize. The Titanic, the iceberg, the ship sinking into the cold, dark depths.
To be honest with you, none of us really on the ship had any idea of how interested the world would be that we had found Titanic.
But there's so much more beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered.
Over time, decay will be inevitable, and that collapse will trap objects inside the ship that could be of some kind of historical value.
The truth of this tragedy is far from the simple tale we've been told. From the engineers who stayed behind to keep the ship running, to the surprising origins of the iceberg, the facts surrounding the Titanic are more chilling and complex than we ever imagined.
The Titanic represented in 1912 as the top of the top, and it was the best ship ever built and the biggest one ever built.
In this journey, we'll unveil 20 little-known details about the Titanic that will challenge everything you thought you knew about its fateful voyage. Engineers who stayed behind. As the Titanic faced its final moments, there was a group of unsung heroes who stayed behind in the heart of the ship, determined to keep the lights on. While the chaos unfolded above, as passengers scrambled to lifeboats and frantic cries echoed in the air, these engineers remained steadfast in their duty. Joseph Bell, the chief engineer, and his team of 24 men, including electrical engineers, boilermakers, and even a plumber, did not abandon their post. They worked tirelessly in the ship's engine room, ensuring the Titanic's power systems remained functional as long as possible. Their dedication was not only an act of professional duty, but one of pure selflessness. They knew the ship was doomed, yet they kept working, knowing that the power they provided could offer others a fighting chance. Even when the Titanic split in two, the power stayed on, allowing distress signals to be sent out and lighting to guide those trying to escape. In the end, none of them survived, but their actions ensured that many others would live to tell the tale. These engineers, often forgotten in the grand narrative of the Titanic's disaster, are the silent heroes whose courage and loyalty to their work deserve to be remembered forever. The iceberg's origins. The iceberg that sent the Titanic to its watery grave was no ordinary chunk of ice. It had a long and twisted history, one that began long before the ship ever set sail. The origins of the iceberg can be traced back to a period of unusually warm and wet weather in the years leading up to the Titanic's ill-fated voyage. A group of scientists from the University of Sheffield later discovered that this weather had weakened the glaciers in the Arctic, making them more prone to calving, breaking off into massive icebergs. This particular iceberg, which would forever be linked to the Titanic disaster, had been drifting in the North Atlantic for years before the collision. It was an absolute behemoth, stretching a staggering 400 feet in length and weighing around 2 megatons, about the size of a herd of 40 elephants or the weight of a small moon. Such a colossal mass of ice was bound to have a devastating impact, and when the Titanic sailed into its path on the night of April 14, 1912, it was simply too much for the ship to withstand. The iceberg struck the Titanic's hull with such force that it buckled over 100 meters of the ship's steel plating, creating gaping holes that sealed the ship's fate. The Titanic, which was considered practically unsinkable, was no match for the sheer size and weight of this icy monster. In a cruel twist of fate, this iceberg had been quietly forming over the years, only to appear at the most tragic of times, sinking the world's most famous ship. The iceberg's origins, a result of unpredictable weather patterns and natural forces, are a chilling reminder of how nature can set the stage for a tragedy long before we're aware of it. The faux funnel. The Titanic was a masterpiece of engineering, and its design was a testament to both luxury and ambition. Among its most iconic features were the 4 towering smoke funnels, which jutted high into the air, signaling the ship's grandeur to anyone who saw it. But here's the twist. Not all of those funnels were functional. In a stroke of pure marketing genius, the White Star Line decided to add a 4th funnel to the Titanic, not for any practical purpose, but purely for aesthetic appeal. While the Titanic did indeed have 3 functional funnels that handled the ship's exhaust, the 4th was little more than a decorative facade. This fake funnel served no purpose other than to make the ship appear even more powerful and faster, an image that the White Star Line wanted to project to the world. In those days, multiple funnels were associated with speed and safety, and the Titanic's creators wanted their ship to be the most impressive of them all. But the deception didn't end with the Titanic. Its sister ships, the RMS Olympic and the HMHS Britannic, followed suit, each sporting a faux funnel in the name of grandeur. The addition of the extra funnel was designed to create a sense of dominance, impressing both passengers and competitors. The Titanic wasn't just a marvel of technology, it was an image, a symbol of luxury and modernity, meant to captivate and dazzle those aboard. In the end, this attention to superficial detail rather than pure functionality turned out to be a metaphor for the disaster that would unfold. The Titanic, with its perfectly polished exterior, was a ship built to impress, but it lacked the true functionality and safety measures necessary for survival in the face of disaster. The faux funnel, much like the ship's supposed unsinkable reputation, was an illusion, one that couldn't save the Titanic from its tragic fate. Now first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you. Lifeboats shortage. The Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, far fewer than the 64 it needed to accommodate all passengers. This was a decision based on aesthetics. Its owners didn't want lifeboats cluttering the deck and spoiling the views. Safety regulations at the time were outdated and based on the ship's tonnage, not capacity. As the ship sank, there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone, and many were launched only partially filled. Documents later revealed a safety inspector's plea for more lifeboats, but his request was ignored. Had the owners listened, many more lives could have been saved, making the Titanic's lifeboat shortage a tragic reminder of human arrogance. The unidentified victims. The Titanic's death toll is not as straightforward as it seems. Official records list 1,514 fatalities, but estimates range from 1,419 to 1,635. The chaos of the disaster and the lack of proper documentation left many victims' identities unknown. Between 316 and 337 bodies were recovered, but only 23% of the deceased were found, with the rest lying deep beneath the sea. Many were traveling under false names, and some were lost in the confusion of the disaster. Even in recent years, some bodies remain unidentified, like that of 19-month-old Sydney Leslie Goodwin, identified only in 2008. The mystery of the unidentified victims remains a haunting aspect of the Titanic's tragic legacy. The optical illusion. The Titanic's sinking was influenced by an optical illusion known as super refraction, which occurred due to the atmospheric conditions that night. Cold air layers beneath warmer layers distorted the light, creating a false horizon that made the iceberg appear much farther away than it was. This phenomenon also affected nearby ships like the Californian, which failed to recognize the Titanic's distress signals. The Titanic's lookouts saw the iceberg too late, and by the time they alerted the bridge, it was too late to avoid the collision. Super refraction turned what seemed like a safe night into one of the greatest disasters in maritime history, showing how nature can alter perception and shape events. The canceled lifeboat drill. One of the most critical failures aboard the Titanic was the cancellation of the lifeboat drill. Lifeboat drills were standard practice on ocean liners, but Captain Edward Smith decided to cancel the scheduled drill on that fateful Sunday. Some speculate that the captain prioritized a last-minute Sunday service over emergency preparedness, believing the ship to be unsinkable. Despite iceberg warnings, this decision left the crew unprepared for the chaos that unfolded. As the ship sank, passengers and crew struggled to properly launch the lifeboats, and many lifeboats were only partially filled. Had the drill occurred, the crew would have been better equipped to handle the emergency, potentially saving many lives. The cancellation stands as one of the most tragic missteps in Titanic's history. The band played till the end. The Titanic's musicians became legends for their bravery, playing until the very end as the ship sank. Led by Wallace Henry Hartley, the 8-piece band performed in the first-class lounge, offering comfort to the terrified passengers. While popular culture often focuses on the hymn "Nearer, My God, to Thee," accounts differ on the exact song played in the final moments. Nevertheless, the musicians' courage is unquestionable. They played to calm the passengers even as the ship went down. Afterward, only 3 of the musicians' bodies were recovered, with Wallace Hartley found clutching his violin case. Their selfless act remains one of the most poignant images of the Titanic disaster. As we look back on the Titanic disaster, it's clear that this tragedy was not just about a ship sinking, but about the convergence of human error, hubris, and the unforgiving force of nature. From the engineers who stayed behind to keep the lights on, to the lifeboat shortage and the missteps in the ship's design, the Titanic story is filled with lessons we can never forget. The loss of life was immense, but the bravery and sacrifice of those involved remind us of the strength of the human spirit in the face of calamity. The Titanic may have sunk beneath the waves, but its legacy lives on, forever etched in history. It serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of human ambition and the unpredictable power of nature. The facts we've uncovered, the heroes and failures alike, only add to the story of this fateful voyage. Let's remember the lives lost and the lessons learned, ensuring that such a tragedy is never forgotten.